We told you it was a jam-packed show.
It is.
So jam-packed, in fact, that getting like fourth billing on the show today is the unveiling.
Like our biggest rankings reveal of the year.
Is the unveiling of the top 10 in the Class 6A rankings in the 2022 summer edition of Dave Campbell's Texas Football. Of course, we have expanded rankings for every classification in the state. We are the official rankings in the 2022 summer edition. We're the official rankings provider of the Associated Press. So we are the Texas High School Football rankings of record. And we've reached the big boys, Class 6A, the largest classification in Texas. We have actually in the magazine, we have the top 50 for Class 6A in there. So if you're interested in that, pick up the 2022 summer edition of Dave Campbell's Texas Football. But we're unveiling the top 10 today, and we start with number 10. The Rockwall Yellow Jackets are the number 10 team in Dave Campbell's Texas Football. 13 starters are back from last year's area finalist, and they're going to have big playability on both sides of the ball, most notably with wide receiver Noble Johnson. He is a superstar. They've got tons of experience. They're going to be solid up front. They've got good depth. This Rockwall team has a lot to like. One of the things that's going to be troublesome for them is that they're in a very difficult region, and they figure right now we project them to go to the Division I bracket. That said, they're going to be a problem for everyone they come across. Keep an eye on the Rockwall Yellow Jackets, the number 10 team in Dave Campbell's Texas Football. To number 9, the Mustangs of Spring Westfield are the number 9 team in Dave Campbell's Texas Football in Class 6A. This is a team that, unsurprisingly, we think is going to be excellent up front. Their offensive and defensive lines figure to be very good. There are some holes to fill around them, most notably the skill position spots and in the secondary. But in another team in that rough and tumble region, too, that also we project to go to the Division I bracket. That's one thing to keep an eye on, is which bracket does Westfield go to. That said, this is a team that deserves to be considered one of the very contenders in the state. I mean, this is a team that has won 11 or more games in 4 of the last 5 seasons. The only season they didn't do it was in that COVID-riddled 2020 season. So keep an eye on Spring Westfield. They are going to be dangerous. They start the year number 9 in Dave Campbell's Texas Football. To number 8, the DeSoto Eagles are the number 8 team in Dave Campbell's Texas Football. Now the reigning state 7-on-7 champions proved their might out there at the 7-on-7 field. Can they translate that into the fall? From an experience perspective, the numbers aren't overwhelming. This is they've only got 3 starters on offense, 4 starters on defense, but they got a lot of guys who didn't start that got a lot of experience, which I think kind of tells you a little bit about the limitations of just relying on returning starters. This is a team that has an opportunity, from a talent perspective, to be really, really exceptional. They've got playmakers all over the field, most notably Jonte Cook, the wide receiver. Keep an eye on DeSoto. Right now, one of the things for them, we project them to go to the Division II bracket. If that's the case, they can really make some noise. DeSoto starts at year number 8 in Dave Campbell's Texas Football. Number 7, our first Austin area entry, the Lake Travis Cavaliers, the number 7 team in Dave Campbell's Texas Football. And this is a team that's going to be a little bit different. They return their quarterback, Bo Edmondson, and they return both offensive and defensive linemen mostly intact. They have to fill some key skill position spots. That's going to be a real question for them. They're going to be young there. If they can grow up as things progress, they're going to be very dangerous there in Region 4, once again projected to go to the Division I bracket. Lake Travis starts here number 7 in Dave Campbell's Texas Football. To number 6, our first state finalist checks in at number 6, and it's the Denton-Guyer Wildcats, the reigning state Division II state finalist from a year ago. Brings back Jackson Arnold, one of the very best quarterbacks in the state of Texas, and their defensive backfield figures to be really, really talented, with 5 starters back on both sides of the ball. This is going to be a team that, under new coach Reed Heim, is going to need a little bit of polishing, especially at the depth perspective. But their frontline players, their 11-on-11 is going to be as good as anybody in the state. This Guyer team is dangerous, with a great opportunity to go back to a state championship game. They are right now projected to go to the Division II bracket, which could make them very dangerous. Keep an eye on Guyer. They start the year number 6 in Dave Campbell's Texas Football. Into the top 5, where we find a familiar face, the Katy Tigers, the number 5 team to start the year in Dave Campbell's Texas Football. A state semifinalist from a year ago, brings back a lot of their offensive line, and when that happens, they're going to be pretty darn good. Of course, bringing back Seth Davis at the running back spot helps as well. But this is a team that at wide receiver is going to be a little bit thin, and the defense is going to need a little bit of retooling. Now, look. This is Gary Joseph we're talking about. Their defense is going to be on point. They're going to be a contender, especially right now we project them to go to the Division II bracket. If that's the case, they've got a great opportunity to make a very deep run. The Katy Tigers start the year number 5 in Dave Campbell's Texas Football. Number 4, The Duncanville Panthers, the number 4 team in Dave Campbell's Texas football, the state runner-up in the Division I bracket last year, has some holes to fill. Lose a lot of their star power from last year's squad. Amari Abor is gone. That fearsome defensive front is going to need to be retooled. But if we know anything about Duncanville, they don't rebuild, they reload. They're going to be reloaded this year with 6 starters back on each side of the ball. They're they right now are the favorite of the Division I bracket in the Region 1, or Region 2 rather. This is a Duncanville team that expects to be playing for a state championship. We expect them to be in that mix. Duncanville starts the year number 4 in Dave Campbell's Texas football. To number 3, the Southlake Carroll Dragons, the number 3 team in Dave Campbell's Texas football. And there's just really a lot to like about this bunch, especially on the offensive side. Bringing back what I think is going to be one of the most underrated running games in the state. Their offensive line is back. They bring back Katy Anderson at the quarterback spot. Now, their defense is going to need to be rebuilt. They've only got 2 starters back from last year's defense that led them to the state semifinals. But this is a team that has an opportunity to play very, very deep into December and potentially to win it all. A lot of it comes down to which bracket they go to. Last year we went to the Division I bracket, ran into Duncanville in the semifinal, and that was that. If they go to the Division II bracket, which is where we project them, we think they can win the state championship. Keep an eye on Southlake Carroll. They start the year number 3 in Dave Campbell's Texas football. Number 2, the reigning Division I state champion Galena Park North Shore Mustangs are the number 2 team in Dave Campbell's Texas football. One of the remarkable things about them was that they won a state championship with such a young squad. This is a team that has an opportunity to be even more explosive in the passing game with a developing quarterback in Caleb Bailey and a number of speedy wide receivers. And by the way, you're going to be stunned by this, but North Shore's going to have a really good secondary. Now, the defensive front needs to be retooled, and the front 7 is going to need some experience. But they have some experience at some key positions. And furthermore, North Shore and Coach John Kay, one of the very best in the business, has earned the benefit of the doubt. Whatever the holes they have, we feel like they're going to fill them. North Shore starts the year number 2 in Dave Campbell's Texas football. And the number 1 team in Dave Campbell's Texas football to start the season is the 3-time defending Division state champion, Austin Westlake Chaparrals. Now, look, there's a couple of ways to look at this team. On one hand, we think that they're going to have they do have to replace Cade Klubnik, one of the very best quarterbacks in the state. But their defensive line is going to be so ferocious, and their offensive line is going to be one of the very best in the state, that when added to what should be a really good running game and a star wide receiver in Jaden Greathouse, they're certainly going to be right back in that mix. They have some holes to fill offensively on the offensive line and linebacker and quarterback. Those are questions. And with new coach Tony Salazar, they're questions that he's going to have to answer in a hurry. But the pedigree for Austin Westlake speaks for itself. They deserve to be the number 1 team in the state. They're picked to win the Division I state championship this year. Austin Westlake starts the year number 1 in Dave Campbell's Texas football. So there you have it. The Class 6A top 10. Number 10, Rockwall. Number 9, Spring Westfield. Number 8, DeSoto. Number 7 is Lake Travis. Number 6, Denton Guyer. Number 5, Katy. Number 4, Duncanville. Number 3, Southlake Carroll. Number 2, Galena Park North Shore. And the number 1 team in the state to start the season, the Austin Westlake Chaparrals. Of course, you can find expanded rankings for the 2022 summer edition of Dave Campbell's Texas football and the 2022 summer edition of Dave Campbell's Texas football. Expanded rankings for every classification. We've gone through all of them, giving you the top 10 in each of them, but we have expanded rankings for every classification, from 6A all the way down to private school 6-man. We've got expanded rankings in there.
And to note, 6A goes all the way to 50.
Yes.
Everyone else, every other division, since they're split into every other classification, since they're split into division, is 25. Only 25. So you get the 50 together, but now, 6A is all 1 through 50 lists.
Now, if you're interested, and remember, there's an added layer of intrigue in 6A because they're not pre-split. Mm-hmm. So it depends on who wins like 4th place in certain districts.
Right.
But as we project it right now, your state semifinals would be in Division 1. It would be Duncanville and Allen. And in Division 2, it would be Westlake and North Shore. Would be in Division 1. We project Westlake to go back to the Division 1 bracket after being in Division 2 last year. There's that. On the Division 2 side, it would be Southlake Carroll and DeSoto in a semifinal.
And we haven't seen that before.
And it would be Katy and Austin Vandegrift in the other semifinal. Would be our pick right now. So that's what it looks like. Of course, we have expanded rankings in the 2022 summer edition of Dave Campbell's Texas Football. We hope you'll pick them up at texasfootball.com/subscribe.
Thanks so much for watching that video. If you would like more and to be notified when they come out, go ahead and click that subscribe button right down there. You can also watch Texas Football Today every day live at noon on texasfootball.com, Facebook, Twitch, and right here on YouTube. For more of the best coverage of Texas football in the Lone Star State, go to texasfootball.com/subscribe.